Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the 4th season of... What are we called again? Oh, Les Oderants, that's it. For some reason I wanted to introduce us as the Sopranos, but no. Yes, welcome to Les Oderants. I'm Dan, and I'm joined this week by Ben and James, and not Fliss yet again, but she is coming back, we promise. Ben, James, say hello.
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 I reckon I'm probably the least Sopranos going, really.
You reckon? I reckon you'd have made like quite a svelte hitman or something on Sopranos.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'd perfectly happily take on a hitman as a job if I could know where to find the work. I'd probably get a lot of job satisfaction from that.
I imagine so. Yeah. I think.
Would you like to get up close and personal, or would you be popping their head from a distance?
I reckon up close and personal, so I can really feel the emotion.
See the whites of their eyes. Yeah.
Would you work with a knife then? Is that your sort of method of choice? A garrote? A garrote?
Yeah.
Oh, a garrote. Nice.
I think you've thought about this way more than is actually healthy here, Ben.
Yeah, perhaps I am. Perhaps I am. Should be in The Sopranos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first sign is fantasizing about it, isn't it?
It's the first of only 2 or 3 steps. So actually, you'll be there fairly swiftly, I imagine. Right. So only just Ben and James this week. Fliss is where is she? She's somewhere bonkers, like Uganda or something this week. Who knows?
That's right, Uganda.
So she's left us to it, and we are going to try and deliver a podcast episode without being complete idiots, which is obviously a bit of a struggle. I bought something fun this week. I bought this. Can you see that, James? It's Lancôme. I got a bottle of Lancôme Hypnose. And it's very nice, isn't it? I mean... Yeah, exactly. Well, it was after, I think it was the last time we recorded, which actually seems like several months ago now, because we had some delays with getting the editing done and stuff. But since that episode, we talked about Hypnose, or you did, and I thought, shit, I've got to buy it. And I looked around, and at the time, I remember thinking, well, this is about £12, right? Which is why I'd never bought it before, because it's like, well, I don't need to worry. I can always pick one up. It's about £12. But, of course, it's not. It's discontinued, and bottles are selling for, like, hundreds and hundreds of pounds. However, I found one for about 32 quid or something, which is not full. And it's pretty nice. It's... I don't know. It doesn't feel groundbreaking or anything, but sort of pleasant. It's slightly metallic for me, which.
Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what metallic means. I suppose I use that expression, but as we discussed, metals don't really have smells. They have the smells of the things that are sort of imprinted on them, rather than having a smell themselves. But it's very nice. I can probably see why they discontinued it, because my instinct is it's probably not that popular these days. It doesn't seem ultra modern or anything, and my guess is they probably, although the people who like it will, I think, love it. Probably it was discontinued because it just wasn't commercially super viable any longer, would be my guess.
Yeah. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah. But, enjoyable. Another enjoyable one, which I've worn this week, and I'll call it only enjoyable, it's not a lot more than that, is the new Tom Ford Boise Pacifique, which I sent you both a little sniff of, and were you overwhelmed, underwhelmed, or merely whelmed?
I'm interested to hear what Ben's got to say on it.
I really liked it. I really, really liked it. At first, I didn't. So when I first sprayed it, I thought, okay, I smelled this a million times before. It smells like a lot of things that I couldn't quite pin my finger on. One one sort of curious thing was it reminded me a bit of a Joe Malone that I'd smelt before, and that I own, and I thought, come on, like, that can't be right. And I looked, and it's English oak and red berries. And then I looked up the note listing for this, and there's an oak note in it. So I don't know if it's this like specific sort of maybe they've got like an off the shelf oak base or something. But it's it just reminded me of that, which was weird that it reminded me of a Joe Malone of all things. Do you know what I mean? But so yeah, it didn't like blow me away when I first smelt it, but it really grew on me. And then by the dry down, I was like, this is fucking beautiful. It was really nice. It's the sort of thing that, you know, you could easily wear around your nan's for Sunday lunch. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very inoffensive and I say, I don't think it's knocking down any doors or anything, but I just thought it was a really pleasantly done amber, like spicy amber, really. Yeah, I thought it was good. So it's nothing that it's nothing I haven't smelt before, and it didn't like blow me away in terms of like originality or interest even. But it was just very nice, really pleasant. I liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I'm wearing it today. I think I'm slightly underwhelmed by it, only because I think this sort of, to give some context, I didn't realise this is one that's released in the signature line bottle, so it's in like the normal line, which is usually cheaper. Was it based on a Privé? I would say it's quite similar to Eben Fume. Ben Fume, was that one?
Yeah, one of the more recent ones, isn't it?
Yeah, which was a bit more, slightly more upmarket feel, but I think that's kind of deliberate because this is sort of a knockabout thing. I think in terms of just where you've smelled it before, I would say it's very much Gucci Pour on One.
Yeah.
It's that kind of accord, but you know, slightly tweaked, and given like a little bit of a kind of twangy, slightly, I always call it like a saffrony leather patchouli. It's sort of like a very basic kind of thing that they put in. You know, they either pair it with like rose in like oud leathers and oud roses and stuff like that, or they put it in things like this where they've just got that kind of spicy wood incense top. I know what you mean about the kind of sort of oak note or whatever. And I'm wearing it, and if it had some kind of freaky sort of like power, or it had some kind of nice bit of that incense accord sticking out, then I would say, oh yeah, it's different. But I think it's just flogging the same horse, and I'm not that convinced by it. And I thought to myself, oh well, at least it's cheap because it's in the signature line, and it ain't that cheap. It's £108 for 50ml, and I'm assuming the 100ml is like nearly 200 quid, or probably, you know, there or thereabouts, which is not as obscene as the you know, private blend ones, but still it's a lot for something that's just rehashing Gucci Pour on One and not as well. It's funny that there's been a lot of those and none of them are as good, and I'm not just kind of looking at that with sort of rose tinted, you know, specs on. There's a lot of them out there, even by the same.
Almirac. So, but he's sort of saturated the market with them, hasn't he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got quite a few still based on that same old thing. I mean, this is slightly better and sort of in terms of like longer lasting and things than like I've got a couple of those Almirac ones, like the Bentley. It lasts a bit longer than that, and it's clearly a slightly more worked in a little bit of a different direction. I was just saying, Dan, about it's got a slightly kind of like this weird translucent kind of sepia saffron patchouli leatherish kind of thing that they put into some oud roses and stuff sometimes, but it's there just paired with this kind of woody incense vibe. Like I say, I think in comparison to the other one that you sent us, quality-wise, there's no fucking
it's a bit of a nothing burger, isn't it? I mean, it's pleasant enough, and I think if you haven't ever had Gucci Pour on One, or tried anything similar, then then perhaps you're going to like it a lot. And I do like it. I read a comment. I can't remember whose it was, but it was something like, yet another trip to the Gucci Pour on One well kind of thing, which it seems not unreasonable. Was Tom Ford actually at Gucci when Gucci Pour on One came out? Because I think he was something to do with it. No.
Yeah, he was.
So
I think so.
Keep going back to that old well. Okay. So that was exciting. So you mentioned it there, James. The other one, what I sent was Amouage Purpose 50. James, how did you get along with Amouage Purpose 50?
I thought it was amazing.
That's a pretty succinct review.
Now. Well, I think people are, unless you're sort of, I don't know, my kind of history with, let's say, Quentin Biche and the whole big sparkly incense kind of ridiculous, this Akajala wood, this base kind of thing that he's doing for pretty much lots of brands and everybody and everything else is getting to be a signature that's kind of pissing people off, and like a lot of people don't like it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's amazing that he can kind of keep making the same perfume, but like just pulling different little bits out of it. The thing that is most amazing about this perfume is that, like, yes, it's got all that kind of gubbins underneath that you'd expect. I mean, it's absolutely massive, right? It does not need to be. I think I wouldn't buy the Purpose 50. If Purpose smells like that and it's slightly more toned down, then I'd just buy fucking Purpose. Do you know what I mean? Especially if it was at discounters or whatever. Because it doesn't...
I think it's slightly the other way round, though. I think this one is actually almost like a toned-down version of the original Purpose. Yeah, well, it's like softer, sweeter.
Right. Well, that usually is the case. Now, when you increase the concentration, it doesn't always mean that it's going to be, bigger or whatever. It actually has the opposite effect a lot of the time. So that kind of makes sense. But irrespective of that, I'm quite sort of taken by it. I found the opening, the one thing that I could talk about loads of other aspects of it, but the main thing that gets me about it is the use of frankincense. And it's clearly very high quality. It kind of pierces through. It's almost kind of bitter and strange in the opening, and then it just goes really glorious. And then it doesn't last for the full life of the perfume because the rest of it is just like quite... If you're not prepared for that or you're annoyed by that, it's quite loud and it can be too much for a lot of people, and I kind of understand that. But I applied it quite sparingly, and I just had a massive cloud. And what I also liked about it was it smells different. It smells kind of musky and diffuse and almost creamy at a distance. But then when you get in close, it's kind of there's a bit more sort of attack from the like resins and the other kind of stuff in there. To be honest, I'll be honest, and I always say this, that like it did start to piss me off after like several hours because you're just engulfed in a cloud of it. But it's almost like, being sort of cooked to death by a fucking Care Bear or something. It's like, it's really nice and it smells amazing, but it's kind of like, that's too much. I did have actually a dirtier analogy in my mind, or fucking whatever you want.
I want to hear it.
But I'm not.
No, I want to hear it.
No,
it's like with the dirt.
It was quite disgusting actually, and I was even quite disgusted by myself. So
I mean, that's a fair warning if James.
That is true. It was just crude, and there's just no.
Oh yeah, because Because we're definitely well known for respecting crudeness boundaries on this show.
I mean, I've seen the stuff you post on Instagram, James. Like, it's
well, okay. So, anywho, I really liked it, but I would say you'd have to wear it very sparingly.
You do.
I think maybe like spray it and then like.
Oh no, you don't need to go that far. But it is a 2-sprayer job for me, and I find that Akigala wood really, really irritating in a lot of perfumes. I think it's.
I'll just say, and I've said this before. I went. Sorry to interrupt, but I went on I did a live with Rich Mish the other week, and there was a guy on there. Shout out to Jora Rose, who I think we should have on here. Really, a guy called Callum, who's very knowledgeable about his aroma chemicals and whatnot. And he actually has some Akajala wood. I think that he got from Givaudan or whoever make it or whatever, because I think he's got a few little contacts and things. And yeah, to be honest, I've never smelled it in isolation, so I can't say. I believe that very much later in the dry down there is a patchouli note in this, and there's kind of a patchouli note in the other things. But I find it very clean, very modern, very inoffensive, and that is not the thing that I think is annoying people in those perfumes. I'll just put it out there. I don't think you can attribute that to the Akajala wood. It might be, but I'll just say, if I haven't smelled it and I don't know it, and I can just relate it to like something like Clearwood or whatever, but with more power, I believe. Then I would say I can't really see why anyone would be offended by that. I think the base that Biche creates, maybe, that is relentless, that could fucking piss you off. Or things like that Bois Imperial, was it called? That one? Those are much higher pitched and screechy and quite annoying. This is much more rounded and creamy. And what I liked about this is that what he's done is basically his style with Akajala wood, but he's kind of done that thing. He's made the sparkly incense, but he's used, I'm just going to put it out there, like Omani fucking fine frankincense, because it smells so good. And that's kind of a prominent feature. And then the rest of the perfume is just, cuddly, rest of his kind of usual stuff, quite diffuse and things. So I think it's clever from that perspective. So we also talked about appreciating things from an emotional standpoint, from a just, your taste standpoint, and also from a technical standpoint where you go, I really like what they've done here, because I sort of appreciate how difficult that might be to achieve or whatever. So there's a few different levels that I'm liking this on. I can understand why people wouldn't like it, but I like, for example, I really like that Tilia perfume that he did for Barwa recently that everyone fucking hates, right? But I thought it was glorious. But again, it's too massive. It's insane. I remember I had like a little bit in a vial in a pocket of a fucking shirt, and I could smell it for like weeks. It was just, and I hadn't even like sprayed it or anything. So I get that that's a bit much, but some people are also looking for that, and they use it as a kind of, that means quality. I know it doesn't, but just so happens that there's also a lot of quality to the perfume as well. I just think it's Biche for Amouage. That's what it feels like for me. And he's gone, what are the things that make Amouage what they are? Okay, I'll just kind of draw those out of my usual palette of things that I use, and just draw out those bits. I think it's very good. I really liked it a lot.
Well, so just on the subject of the Biche, and I've never smelt Akijala wood as a material either, but I've smelt quite a lot of the perfumes that he's used it in, and to me there is a common thread to them. So I'm sort of assuming that commonality is the Akijala wood. I may be wrong. And in several of them, including Bois Imperial in particular, I find it much too fucking irritating. It's just too sledgehammer. Even if it's not that material, whatever material it is that he's using, that is common to them all, is just way too fucking strong. But in this one, it seems to be, I don't know, maybe because it's been dampened down because of the concentration. There's not as much alcohol, so it's less diffusive. Whatever the reason is, in this particular iteration, to me, it seems much more workable, much more sort of balanced, and it doesn't feel quite as obnoxious. And it is strong as fuck. I'm not quite sure I'd spray it in a cloud and walk through it, but 2 sprays is definitely sufficient for this one, I'd say. But I really, really liked it. And I liked it quite a lot more than the original purpose.
I think it's got a old meets new. There's a kind of classicness to it that I think is quite endearing and might bring some other people on board who don't usually like Bisha's stuff. I don't know, but there's definitely a lot in there for the kind of modern Bish style lovers. But it's that frankincense. I think it's very good. I think there's some very high quality frankincense in there, and that for me was like the winning element of what was a very good perfume anyway. But I think that gives it like a signature sort of amouage-ness that I think is captured very well.
Did you get what I meant at all? And I don't imagine either of you will, but did you get what I meant about that sort of slightly rotten fruitiness to it? I mentioned last week that I couldn't really explain it, and I've not really got a better set of words this week because I haven't spent a lot of time meditating on this problem, but there is, to me, a sort of off-kilter, almost kind of rotten fruit sort of aspect to it. And I think I described it as maybe being like one of those... Do you remember we talked about papaya and how papaya smells a bit like vomit? And like there's something just a bit weird about it in that same spirit. And I don't want to say it smells like vomit. It does not, but
I recall
it's got a weird
saying that now.
Fruitiness to it.
Yes, it does have a fruitiness to it because I think a lot of those, again, going back to sort of Bisha's stuff, a lot of them do have a little fruity note. But I think that might be the Olibanum that I was talking about, because it goes slightly bitter. It's almost like slightly stagnant water or something, you know, when something's slightly off and you get that like little whiff, but then it flips so quickly into like something that's really glorious and nice. It's just got that slight offness, like ambergris or something, you know, something where you go, that's a bit... Or like a really nice floral accord with a little tiny bit of indole. You go, yeah, that's a bit. So I get what you mean, but I didn't really associate it with the fruit. I didn't think of sort of rotten fruit. But I know what you mean. It's definitely got light and shade. I think there's a lot more light than there is shade. But yeah, I thought it's. I can get where you're coming from with that.
Ben, what did you make of it?
Yeah, so that funnily enough, that sort of rotten fruitness, I felt a bit of a sharpness that I think is possibly the same sort of thing you're thinking of. But do you know, it reminded me of Amouage Myths a little bit, in that it had that sort of slightly like Myths. It's got a very like sort of sharp floral note in it that does have a sort of slightly off, sort of like almost fermenting fruit sort of feel to it, slightly acidic, slightly sharp. And in the dry down, it did remind me of Myths a bit. And Myths is like my favourite Amouage. But I have to say, I didn't really like this. I thought it was a bit shit. I just thought it was a bit dull.
Really?
Yeah, it was okay. It was nice. Like, so here's the thing. Like, it was smelt like an Amouage, right? And I like Amouage generally. So to say it smelt. Yeah, okay, maybe I'm being a bit hyperbolic, because I liked it, because it smelt like an Amouage, right? But it didn't really do anything exciting outside of that for me. Like, so when I like think about the really good ones that I really love from Amouage, it's Myths, because it's like has this weird sort of like sharp like floral element, or the one that smells like rainwater and mud. You know, I love that one. I forget what it's called, Figment, I think. Stuff like that, you know, they're brilliant. This one just reminded me a bit of a dull Amouage that it was nice, but it didn't really excite me that much. There's nothing really excited me about it. I'm wearing it now, and it's all right, but it's
what?
Yeah, now it's like I've been wearing it all day, so it's like pretty much the dry down like is all that's left, and it just smells like I sniff it and I think, yeah, it smells nice, but I wish I was wearing mists. So that I suppose, yeah, sort of sums it up really. It wasn't that it was a bad perfume at all, and I did like it. But yeah, I liked when you first sprayed it, and I think it might be the whole beige thing. It had that almost minty sort of quality to it, that sort of chlorinated mint sort of smell almost.
Again, I think that might be the frankincense.
Right, yeah. I mean, I can see that. Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you say, the answer's the frankincense.
That'll be the frankincense.
But yeah, but that was the nice touch. But after that, it didn't super excite me. I preferred the Tom Ford, which says it a lot. Really,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, okay. Well, it's hard to justify that sort of nonsense. If I'm honest. Well, go on, Ben. Why don't you tell us about something other than these two perfumes then that you've been sniffing this week?
All right. So this week I decided to go back through my Gallivant collection. Right. I always like I always like London, but I've got a few, and I never really wear the others that much. And I just saw them on the shelf and thought it's time to like go back through them really and see why I bought them or what they're all about, because I just haven't worn them for like a good 2 or 3 years probably. And so I wore Amsterdam and Tokyo and London this week.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. London's great, man. I did still like it, and I remembered why I liked it. It's this like very clean geranium rose leather sort of thing. It has like it says that it's like a cucumber note or something up front, but it's not really cucumber. It's just this, yeah, but it's just a slightly green, watery kind of textural kind of note that you sort of smell up front, and it doesn't really last. The heart of it essentially is like a really clean, polished leather with like a geranium sort of rose, sort of sweet floral, and it's quite basic. But it's not in a bad way, it's just, it's quite minimal, maybe is a better word. But it's lovely. And it's really, really nice. It doesn't smell like any London I've ever smelled in my life.
London smells of piss and smoke and exhaust fumes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But this smells like, maybe if you go in some upmarket furniture retailer in Chelsea or something, but it's not London, but it's really nice, and I liked it. But I always liked that one, and I knew that was one that I enjoyed. So then I tried Amsterdam, right, and I hated that, and I bought it blind at the time. And
does it smell of weed?
No, it smells of tulip and pepper.
Yeah, it does.
And tulip is a strange smell. It's a very dense, thick, waxy floral that's quite heavy. And it has that, and then it's sort of paired with this weird sort of dark pepper, and it just, to me, it doesn't work. It smells, it has this weird sort of clash between sort of sweet and savoury that to me just doesn't work at all. And you sort of pair that already with a waxy floral. I'm not massively into like overtly waxy florals, like stuff like Lang Lang or whatever. Like, like to me, like they're okay to an extent, but if you go real heavy and you have this mass waxy floral, it puts me off a little bit. And this is a very heavy waxy floral, which I say then you pair that with this black pepper, and it just, to me, it just didn't work. It's interesting perfume. I've never smelled anything like it, but I can't say I want to smell anything like it again.
Well, I mean, Amsterdam for me really is a city that smells of piss, because the sewers, I believe, are very close to the surface. They don't have super deep, like in London, the sewers are fairly a long way below ground level. In Amsterdam, they seem to be, I believe, they're a bit nearer the surface for whatever reason.
Right.
My abiding memory of visiting Amsterdam, certainly when I was in my early 20s, was of skunk weed and piss. The whole place just stank of skunk and piss.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they get their influences for the names, but I mean Tokyo is a bit more I can understand. But yeah, James, sorry, were you going to say something before I get into Tokyo?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, okay. So Tokyo is. Have you ever smelled Nui de Issy, the dark blue Issey Miyake? It smells very similar to that. It's basically.
No, I'm not sure I have. Sorry, I was thinking of the amber one.
Oh yeah, no, it's a dark blue bottle, and it's basically like a modern blue sort of masculine fragrance. Like you think about those sorts of cool sort of vibes with that, right? And then you pair that with a slightly darker incense. Which is actually quite interesting. It's a very interesting take on a blue fragrance, I think. And then Tokyo is that, essentially, but then mixed with, and I forget the name of it, and it's driving me mad, that the Japanese horseradish, green, wasabi.
Wasabi, yeah.
It's got a wasabi note in it, and it's incredibly photorealistic, and it's very weird. And it is only in the top of the fragrance, and it does die down to essentially Nui de Issy, with a slightly nicer incense note, but it starts with this very strange wasabi thing. But I like it. I think it's interesting.
That's clever, isn't it? To capture that. Because
wasabi.
A lot of, I think they say that you don't really experience wasabi properly because most of it is just horseradish that's been dyed green. Because it oxidizes or it loses its like potency, its flavor and everything so quickly, the real wasabi, that when you you have to have it kind of grated at your table and you have to use it straight away, otherwise it just is shit. So that's why all the stuff that you get in little packets and things is not actually really wasabi. It's like horseradish that you would get from that you could grow in England or whatever. I mean, you can grow wasabi.
I did not know that.
But, and they just put a bit of like green food coloring in it to make it green. They do put real wasabi in it because they have to. Same way with if you said it was real oud or whatever, you'd have to put a little trace of it in. But apparently, you can get wasabi and keep it and whatever. But the fresh stuff is the only stuff that's really actually has the proper flavour of it. So, yeah.
Every day's a school day.
There you go. But it is a strange smell, right? Because it's got that quite, like, it's spicy but not spicy, if you know what I mean. It's hot but not spicy, if you like. And it does capture that sort of green, bitter spiciness of wasabi. It's an interesting perfume. It's
wasabi. Yeah.
It's a very strange perfume.
Not that I've ever had the real stuff, because I've never had it actually grated at the table for me or anything, but I believe it is, very much like horseradish anyway. But I always hated horseradish. Well, it's just green horseradish in it, but I always really hated it because it's got a very mustardy chemical flavour to it. But I actually, to be honest, it's one of those flavours that you acquire over time, and I've started to really almost crave it. Only in like a tiny little bit, just because I do really like it, but it's quite awful. It's like eating olives, they're bitter, they're kind of not very nice. But
I love olives.
I fucking love olives as well. But I can, when people go, olives are gross, I'm like, yeah, I know, they're fucking horrible, aren't they? I just eat them. But also another thing, taking the pit out of the olive is like, that they are nothing like what a real olive is like. You leave the stone in the olive, and the flavour is so much better.
And then you smash your teeth up.
Well, you do, but you've got to be
the flavour is better. You're right.
So much better.
Yeah, you've got to be super careful. Them shits is hard.
Yeah. I like them Noscella ones. Those really green. They're almost like a fucking very green Italian ones.
But they serve them at the pizza joint up the road. I forget the name of it. But I went in the. We've got one of these really sort of nice, like local wine shops. And I went in there last weekend to buy a bottle, and there's a particular red that I've been drinking for a few weeks, which is amazing. But they've run out of it.
Right.
So I said, well, can you recommend something else? And he goes, well, I can do better than that. Why don't you come and try this? And he said, it's very similar to the other one, very similar, but it's got a sort of olivey, almost tapenade sort of a bass note to it. And I was like, you should do a fucking perfume podcast, mate, talking about fucking tapenade aspects of fucking... yeah, exactly. Oh, it's cool. So conclusion on the three Gallivants then, Ben.
London, love it. Tokyo, yeah, it's good, but a little bit unique. It's one of them ones where you probably don't want to wear it that often. And it does dry down and gets a little bit boring. But still good and definitely unique. And it has that nice touch that it's, interesting and worth a sniff. Amsterdam, absolutely not. I don't know why it's on my shelf. It's horrid. I think possibly because I bought it blind and it was like secondhand. It's only half full and it's only a little bottle and I can't be asked to sell it. But it's not good. So yeah, I guess like a love, a kind of like and a hate, which is a nice round sort of even bunch of opinions there. Yeah. I do one thing that I do want to go back to, which is not it's a little bit off topic, but not too much. It's still about perfume. You said like the Amouage, like it's definitely a 2-sprayer, right? I only ever spray 2 sprays of any perfume on my wrist.
Fucked.
That's how I wear every perfume. 2 sprays on my right wrist, and that's it.
What?
Because I want to sniff it like that.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever fucking heard.
That's the first time we've heard this now. So we've been doing this podcast with you for fucking how long? Yeah. And you put 2 sprays on your wrist every time.
Yeah, every time.
And it turns out you're not wearing perfume properly.
No, because I don't care if anyone else can smell it. I just want to be able to like lift up my hand and give it a sniff and smell it for myself.
That is fucking bizarre. I mean, what, you don't even apply Kouros to your forehead?
Never to my forehead, never once. It's I know that's a crime in itself, but yeah,
it's a hate crime.
So what do you lot do? Are you proper like all over the place?
Well, I mean, Jesus Christ, spray routine.
I know, but I know this is a bit YouTubey, but it just sort of sparked it in me when you mentioned it. I was like,
hey guys, a lot of people been asking me about my spray routine. No one's been asking about your fucking spray routine. I tend to spray on. Typically, I will go for something like 12 to 14 sprays of most perfumes, and I will spray sort of around my neck, my t-shirt normally, and then maybe my wrists as well. So I just sort of slosh it all over, and particularly strong ones, I might dial that down to like 8 or whatever. And for something like absolutely... and that's the funny thing, by the way, about Purpose 50. It's not that the perfume itself is so prodigiously strong. It's that and I keep saying Akijala wood. James, you are dead right. I don't know for sure that it's that, but whatever the fuck it is in that is the one. It's like the rest of the perfume I would cheerfully do 10 to 12 sprays of, but because it's got that one sort of sledgehammer component to it, I feel I have to dial that right down to 2. Any more than 2, I think, is probably pushing it.
I think if we just call it the Biche tenacity, right?
Yeah,
the Biche
tenacity. I wish you could portmanteau that to the Biche-nacity.
Biche nasty, yeah.
Biche nasty. I think Biche nasty is appearing a half time at the Super Bowl tonight. No. Yeah. What's your spray routine, James? Do you fucking give it a full 2 sprays on your right wrist?
I've got a weird thing now that I do everything in 4s. I think it comes from fucking drumming and being boring and doing everything 4/4. So I probably do about, yeah. Well, no. When I serve in tennis, I have to either bounce the ball like 3 times and then hit it on the 4th one, or bounce the ball. Sometimes, like, I have to count
7 times.
I have to just count in my head up to 8, so I hit it on the 8. Or sometimes it's fucking 16. Sometimes it's 32. I mean,
fucking
outrageous.
Nice. Yeah. What the fuck is he doing? Oh, he's gone past 32. Yeah, he has to get all the way to 64 now.
256. You know what I mean? It's, but no. No, but no one else knows about this because unless they can see.
Well, everyone knows about it now.
well, not everyone. Some fucking perfume freaks who are into the. Sorry, guys, but you know what I mean. I just insulted our fans. No, but no one who I actually know in my real life listens to this, so I can fucking say what I want, really. But no. I'll touch things like 4 times. I know that's a big thing where people go, no, you're not OCD if you do that. You're just a fucking moron. And it's like, okay, I'm not trying to claim that I'm like, I've got something fucking, more serious or it's like destructive in my life or anything. But I do have little superstitious things like that. Because I said to myself, the only superstition that I'm going to adhere to is magpies, right? So all others are out the window because I'm one of those like crazy people who'd be like, no, everything or nothing, like cracks in the pavement, that would fucking drive me mental. So no, I couldn't do that. So I just say, no, okay, magpies, I will salute them if I see one. And, I'll be like, woo, woohoo, if I see 2, because it means joy, apparently. Anyway, that's fucking, don't know where we're going with that. So yeah, I would say I probably do.
Where are we going with that?
I probably do 16 or 32 sprays.
Or 256.
Yes, that's how you do it.
Yeah, depends on the strength of the perfume. If it's not a strong, if it's
1048.
If it's a very strong perfume, I would do 4, or 2. I'd split my time signature in half.
So it's all pretty well 4 to the floor with your.
It is 4 to the floor
with your. Right, you're not into the whole breakbeat spraying.
No, I do. The thing is, I do quite like odd. Well, not even odd time signatures, but like different time signatures. But it's easier, right? This is the weird thing. So I like them, but like in a band situation, if someone goes, "Oh, I've got this riff," and it's like in like fucking 11 fucking 6 or something, I'm like, let's not play that. No, let's not play that. But then like the thing is, it's easier. I think it's easier, weirdly, to play a musical instrument like a fucking piano or guitar or something in a weird time signature than it is to play drums in a weird time signature. I don't know why. It's like I think I've said this before. I don't know if I'm like a fucking broken record, but like something like take something quite simple, for example, like what's that Pink Floyd tune? Doom do 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 doom 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 doom.
Oh no, money. That's money.
Yeah. So that's like 7/4, is it, or something?
Is it?
Yeah. So doom do 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 doom 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 do do do. So it misses like the 8 off. So you'd normally go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But like it starts like one early, basically. And that's really easy on the fucking guitar. Like the guy probably sat there and went, "Oh, I've got this really cool riff that goes like this," and the drummer's probably, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" Do you know what I mean?
His fucking eyes.
Yeah. Like, can't we just put an extra little bit on the end of it and it'd just be fucking, So anyway, So no, it's just a weird thing, little idiosyncratic. I don't know what you call it, but just some weird little thing with me. Anyway, that's it.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm kind of quite into the whole four bar spray routine. That's good. I mean, I think it's absolutely baffling that in the however many years we've been recording this, we've never discussed the fact that spraying generally and the fact that you only ever spray 2 sprays.
It's because as Ben rightly pointed out, it's a dumb YouTuber fucking bullshit conversation to have.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not so surprised that we haven't discussed it, but the weirdness of Ben's routine is such that I would have thought it would have come up at some point.
You've got to bear in mind, most of the stuff that I wear is not for sort of public consumption anyway. Do you know what I mean? It smells like shite.
There's probably some good truth to that. Okay. Well, that was fun. Anything else other than the Gallivants, Ben?
Nothing interesting, no.
Nothing interesting. James, what about you this week? Anything interesting?
Well, not particularly interesting, but I did this. In fact, it's down here. This fell out of the cupboard the other day, and I was like, ooh.
An orange bag. What is that, Hermes?
Bag. And I was like, ooh, it's got something in it. And it had like receipts and stuff from, I think, when I bought an Hermes. In fact, it was in Amsterdam. So I got an Amsterdam receipt inside. And it had a couple of samples in there. And one was Poivre Sacramante, which I think I already have, or Sacramande or something like that, which is a kind of black pear sort of fragrance, which is very good. You know, it's just a nice woody sort of transparent thing. And I also got a sample of Cedre Sambac, which I also have as well, which is a really nice jasmine perfume. And yeah, so I just was kind of wearing the Poivre quite a lot because it's quite an easy reach, broadly masculine, black peppery type vibes. And, you know, I like it. Well, I'd been having a discussion with Callum, as I say, on Rich's live stream, and we've been talking a lot because he really likes Jean-Claude Helena. He's not like, you know, a super like fanboy or anything, but he does like his that sort of transparent watercolor type approach, and we talked about, you know, lots of different things to do with that. And how, some of these Hermeses are just really elegant and just lovely. So, so I've been wearing those. I've also been wearing, I think Ben will be quite familiar with these. I found a couple of samples from my Atelier d'Ors. D'Ors, and I wore a couple of times last week. I wore... what's it even called? Crepe. I know it's like crepuscule.
Crepuscule,
yes.
Crepuscule.
I've got the bottle of that.
Whatever the French crepuscule. Something. Des Ames, yes, maybe? That's right.
What's that, like the rays of...
Yeah, it's something to do with the...
Ben's gone off to find that.
Rays. Oh, have you got a bottle of it?
Yeah.
It's called Crepuscule des Ames.
Oh, so
Des
you've got
Ames.
the big bottle of it. Wow. What do you think of it, Ben? I'm more interested in what you
I
think.
think it's gorgeous.
Really?
I think
It's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, it's very like I've got to try and remember because I haven't worn it for a while, but it's got a super old school masculine barbershop sort of vibe to it.
It does.
But then really mixed in with this like lovely kind of over-the-top citric kind of modern summery citrus thing.
Yes.
But loads of piss.
Loads of piss.
Loads of piss. Ben does like a piss.
I think, right, what's brilliant about it, right, is that you spray it on several times and you get different things, right? So there's a kind of... going along with your old school masculine, so crudely, it's almost Opium Pour On from YSL.
Yeah.
Very much in that ballpark. But before you even get that, you get masses of modern blue aquatic, let's say a Sauvage type thing with loads of ambroxan, right? Which a lot of people will go, oh, don't really like that. However, it's so well balanced with this like old school, with the clary sage and the opium vibe, but then you've got these really juicy mandarin fucking top notes, like you say, that citrus, which if you spray it on and then you go, oh, I'm getting a bit like overwhelmed by the fucking ambroxy sauvaginess of this, just spray it on again and you'll get the top notes more, and it's positively like beautiful kind of orangey, really nice kind of vibes. So I think it's clever that it treads all these different paths. So it could just be like, oh, it's a slightly modernized Opium Pour On, which it kind of is. But there's a lot worse perfumes to smell like than Opium Pour On, which I think is a fantastic perfume because it's weirdly powdery, but it's got kind of like spicy, like warmth to it and stuff. So yeah, I think that's a really good perfume, and I like it a lot. So I think it kind of appeals. It's almost like somebody trying to get it through the committee going, look, I just want to basically make Opium Pour On again. Isn't Opium Pour On, discontinued and a bit of old hat now? yeah, but let's make it a little bit sauvage-y as well, and let's also use some really nice natural fucking mandarin in the top note. I don't know if that actually happened, but that's how I imagine.
I can imagine that's it, spot on.
That's how I imagine it came together, and they went, yes, okay.
Direct transcript of the meeting.
So that's for me, that's what's going on in it, and I really liked it. Like I say, I think I've worn all of my sample this week. I think I wore it 3 times, and I was like, yes, I'm really happy with this perfume. It's great.
Okay, Crepuscule des Aims. Right.
What's it
okay.
mean?
That sounds like one I need to try. I don't know. What does fucking Crepuscule des Aims mean? I'll fucking go to Google Translate, innit? Crepuscule. Fuck off. Crepuscule des Aims. It's French, isn't it? For some reason, my Google Translate always thinks that I'm starting with.
There's got little hats, hats and shit over the letters. Oh, maybe that like
what little hats and shit.
Yeah, they have little berets and little fucking pointy hats and
little fucking
hats,
fucking hat wearing dickheads. Twilight of Souls.
Oh, that's nice.
Blimey.
Oh, is it? I mean, it sounds rather maudlin to me. Sounds rather ghoulish, but anyway, I mean, it sounds like a decent perfume. I think I'd probably like that. I'm a big fan of opium, and why not make it a sauvage sort of twist on it? Cool. Any other excitement this week?
No, that's it really. I was quite. It was so kind of loaded towards the things that you sent me because, like, I could smell that thing before I even fucking opened the packet. So I was like, I bet that's that. And then I tried the Tom Ford first, and I went, yeah, it is that. And then the other one, like I say, I've worn yesterday, and it kind of just engulfed my whole fucking day and sort of overshadowed everything else that I've tried recently. So
yeah. Well, which is not a bad.
It's not a bad thing, and it's interesting how Amouage have kind of stayed relevant because I've been slightly critical of old Slammin, and just being like, why is everything Slammin beige now? Why is everything just fucking? But the actual quality of the perfumes, they're making stuff that like just is pretty much a hit every time. For me, I think just like they're making some good perfumes still, and that's the main thing that they need to keep up.
Yeah. I mean, I think Outlands was absolutely fucking spectacular. There's. I think they're making a lot of perfumes. I wonder where this whole exceptional X-rates thing ends, if indeed it does. I was sort of surprised. Yeah, I'm trying to work out how interested I am in the point I'm about to make. You ever do that where you think, shit, I'm not even interested in the thing I was about to say, but fuck it, I'll say it anyway. I was sort of surprised that they went with Purpose as an exceptional X-ray, given that it's such a new release. Because so far, what they'd done is they'd stuck to sort of mining the back catalogue of the old classics and giving them a tune-up. But Purpose only came out a few years ago, didn't it? Like 2 or 3 years ago, if that. So I was surprised that they went for that one rather than, I don't know, digging back through something like Gold, for example, which not that Gold really needed a tune-up, but then nor did
Jubilation,
Interlude.
Interlude.
So who knows? Who knows?
In a weird sort of way, though. Oh, sorry, go on.
Well, no, I was just saying I'm not really sure where it all ends. Is this it, or are they going to sort of do? Are they going to do an exceptional X-ray of every perfume they've got eventually?
Well, in a weird sort of way, I sort of feel like it feels slightly less cynical picking something like Purpose, because when it first came out, it was a little bit like, oh right, yeah, you're just going back over your old classics and rinsing them for money, a bit like fucking Aventus Cologne and all the rest of it, and it felt a little bit cynical, but picking Purpose sort of, it was a bit of a out of left field, wasn't it? It was a bit, oh okay, they've picked a modern one to do. Weird. And it also sort of makes you think this Extracts line possibly will be just, I don't know, it almost gives it, like say, a little bit more credibility to the line almost. Like it is actually a thing that they're doing rather than just a money-making exercise, which of course it is a money-making exercise, but you know what I mean?
All of it is, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, continuing the subject of being not all that interested in my own fucking thoughts, I've got this here, which is Jimmy Choo Man Extreme, which was sent to me for review by Essential.
You don't sound very happy about it.
Well, I mean, it's an inoffensive sort of smell, really, but it's I don't know. There's something
bottle
sort
looks
of
really uninspiring. I've got to say that about it. Like,
it really does. It's just like this big fucking red slab, and I was trying to take photos of it, and I thought, oh, I'm sure I can make a nice photo of that, and I can't, because it's just this big sort of slab. It's I don't know. It's
ask them to send you 50,000 more and then build a house out of them.
Yeah, I could do that. I mean, I live in Manchester. It's all red brick round here. To be honest, I could probably just, knock a brick out the front and replace it with that. But it's okay. It smells like a perfume, It smells like something you'd expect a teenage boy to be wearing. And the reality is, at the age of nearly fucking 50, I am no teenage boy. And so, I don't know. I sprayed it and I was like, I mean, it's a fragrance. Do you know what I mean? I don't hate it or anything. It's just, I find it so
pointless,
uninspiring. Yeah, pointless. Why fucking bother? I'm sure I had some other reasonably decent bits. I got Sun Song from Louis Vuitton, which is now discontinued, and it's very nice. Again, not fucking mind-blowing, if I'm honest. I can see why it was discontinued. It's just a sort of fairly blandish sort of, well, not bland, that's unfair, but it's a nice citrusy floral thing. Not worth getting super excited about. Whose dog? That's not my dog. That's your dog, isn't it, man? Yeah. It's okay, and I got Sur La Route because I sort of ended up buying the two together.
I fucking love that
as a deal. And I remember you saying you loved it, and I sprayed that again earlier, and I still can't understand why you love it so much. I mean, it just seems like such an un-Ben perfume.
It's great though. It's like really lovely, kind of nice. Citrus, quite dirty citrus. I love it.
Yeah, I don't get so much of the dirtiness from it, which is sort of why I suppose I can't quite see the Ben connection there, but maybe you do, and that's all good. But no, it's not been the most inspired week, all up for perfumes for me, but, fuck it. They can't all be winners. So I think what we should probably do is wrap up part one, get some alcohol for me to get leery with, and then get stuck into, which has got an olivey tapenade finish to it. And then we can get into part two, where we will put the world to rights.
Do you reckon he just
still haven't quite thought of a fucking title for this.
Do you reckon he just put some olive juice in
it? Yeah. Here, Trev, I've got this right dickhead out there. Fucking, I told him it's got olives in it. Watch this. Fucking emptying fucking pot of olives into it. No, it's very nice, and I love the fact that people will talk as enthusiastically about wine as we will about perfume, and with the same level of complexity and sort of insight, and I confess to really not being able to sort of discern a lot of the sort of stuff they talk about. So when I read the blurb, it's like, peachy with a kind of a bold finish or whatever the fuck. I sort of read it and go, the words sound all right. So. Yeah.
Whenever they come around the table and they're like, try a bit, I'm like, glug, yeah, it's nice, that, go on, fucking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there's a guy who lives down the road here. Well, he lives down the road. He runs like a little kind of, like a deli almost, so you can buy the food produce, but they also do like nights where you go and like sit in there.
Yeah.
And he sells wine and stuff as well, but he's very into the wine to the point where it will fucking, knock you to sleep talking about the various different like regions and how they age the wine in like different vats, different metals and stuff like that. And you're like, I don't care. I just want to
I don't give a shit, mate.
I just want to get pissed.
I think wine is a bit more, because I get that people say that maybe about perfume, but I think even more so with wine, because I always come back to this and I sound like a fucking broken record because I say the same shit all the time. But there was a study somewhere that someone did where they took like actual sommeliers and wine experts and just average Joes, and they had good amount of data points, and they basically blindfolded people and gave them red wine and white wine, and most people couldn't tell the difference whether they were a wine expert or not between red and white. And I'm like, no way, I would definitely, because I don't really drink white wine, I'll drink red wine. And I understand that
white wine is cold.
Well, of course. They gave them both at the same temperature, I think. But that people couldn't tell, and I think that is very telling about the way your kind of senses work and things. And certainly the suggestion, if someone says, it's similar with perfume, I suppose, where someone says, "Oh, is it like peppery, or has it got a bit of it?" And you go, "Yeah, it is actually, yeah." But off the bat. And also the thing with wine is they get intoxicated. So you can drink the nice stuff at first, but you could give somebody absolute shite plonk when they're pissed, and they don't fucking care, because you kind of lose that like, oh, I'm a connoisseur, and just go glog, I'm fucking getting it down me. So
yeah, which is why they spit it out. In fairness, they split it out and then they gob it out into a vat,
which is gross.
Yeah, I'd be a shit wine taster. I'd be like. Yeah, I'd be like, glug, have that. Nice. Yeah, I like that. What about that one? Yeah, that's all right as well. Like, anything else to say? Not really. It's nice. Yeah. Anyway, all this wine talk is making me want wine. So let's wrap up part one, get some drinks in, and come back for part two in just a few minutes. Stick with us. Hello and welcome back to part two of Les Oderants. This week we are going to be taking a look at the underbelly of some of the shenanigans what are going on inside social media. And the reason for this, the reason this is slightly topical is about a week ago I was contacted by a brand who said, hey, this account you're following, they're doing you dirty, right? And I was like, what? And it turns out there's this account called United PR Teams on Instagram. Now, I should say straight off the bat, I like what they're doing. I think it's pretty amusing, to be honest. And what they're doing is they're basically going around exposing people who are essentially and I hate the fucking term influencers, but they're basically trying to expose, shitty behaviour in the fragrance review world. Now, I think we can have a good old chat about what their motivations might be, and the way in which they're doing it, and all of that. I think this might be a fun discussion. It might be fucking terrible. Who knows? So there's this account, right, and that's what they're doing. And I would actually say to anyone listening, go follow them because it's interesting. But they've been going around sending these fucking messages to brands saying, do not work with any of these influencers. And it turns out that my name is on that fucking list.
I've just clocked the name is on there. I was going to jokingly say to you, oh, Dan, where they've missed you off the list, because I kind of flipped
Had you not
spot? I didn't notice
you didn't notice it? Yeah, no. That's
you did tell us afterwards, and I was like, oh, actually, well, that would have been, a bit fucking insensitive. But can I just say they've put no engagement, a shouter.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
a shouter, yeah.
Why? Because you put stuff in block capitals and get your cap.
No.
Your reviews.
Well, no. I think what they're saying about me is that I don't have particularly good engagement, quote unquote. So engagement is like, how many people interact with your post. And the thing is, my posts, and I don't really compromise on this, my posts are all photos, right? They're still photos. And Instagram just does not favour still photos any longer. It's all about reels and stuff, yeah? So, but I can't be arsed with reels. I don't have the time. I don't even have the fucking skill. I can take an okay picture, but I have no idea what I'm doing with video editing, and I've got no interest in doing it. It's just not that
completely different medium, really. Like,
yeah,
especially your photos are like, without getting too pretentious, like there's an artistic element to them, and it's if you look at a lot of the reels, it's not really about that anymore. It's about like dancing.
No.
It's formulaic. What you've said there is you're not keen to chase this shit, and this is the key essence of what we're talking about, not to jump to the fucking conclusion that we come to at the end. But
yeah,
I would say that you're not making reels because you're not trying to chase in the same way that some of these other people on this blacklist are.
No.
In that you're like, I don't want to do fucking shorts because that's a thing that people do. You want to do what you want to do because that's your way of expressing what you feel you want to express and put out there into the world. Whereas a lot of these people have other motives, shall we say, and that they'll just knock up whatever's trending to look favourable towards brands that they want to get free shit from.
Well, that is definitely the case, and I certainly don't want to make this episode about me, but I want to just sort of conclude my sort of thought process and stuff on that. My engagement, I suspect, is probably relatively low in that regard. There's a few other reasons, I think, as well. I've been doing this for fucking years. I reckon there's a good chance that, like, people who've been following me for 3 or 4 years, half of them are probably dead by now. It's like, there's every chance that the pandemic wiped out like a bunch of people. I occasionally look at some of the followers and stuff, and you can see their accounts have not been active or they've not posted anything for like 3-4 years, which is like, sure, people stop doing it or whatever. And I think there's probably a lot of inactive accounts that are followers of mine. But also, I think it is mostly the fact that I just don't really do video.
You don't manufacture drama either, because that's, let's face it, engagement.
Ooh, I like a bit of drama.
Yeah, but we all know that, on social media, engagement is mostly driven through negative, engagement.
Conflict.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's absolutely true. And my, sometimes my reviews aren't even reviews. It's just like, I wore this, it's okay, or whatever. But I don't know. So I was a bit surprised to find myself on that list. And on the one hand, it's fine. My engagement probably isn't as high as lots of other people's. But on the other hand, I'm not desperately keen for people to go around sending my name to brands saying, don't work with this cunt. Because whilst it's not my livelihood, I do get something from it. I do enjoy doing it. And it's a route through which I discover lots of new perfumes and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm sort of, I was a bit cheesed off. So I wrote to them. I said, what the fuck do you mean? I'm a shouter. That's a bit,
That's
harsh.
the bit that you wouldn't be cheesed off about. I thought that's quite. You wear that as a badge of pride.
Well, not. Yeah, shouter. I mean, lower engagement is fine, but shouter. What the fuck do you mean, shouter? I'm not shouting. He shouted. Anyway, I spoke to them, and they did agree to take me off that list. Strangely, they said that the reason I'd made it onto the list in the first place was some brand had sent my name to them, which I was like, oh, Jesus, I don't know how that works. But anyway, ultimately, I was a bit offended, not really super bothered about it. I've always run my Instagram stuff as a sort of a hobby. It's never, ever been a sort of career move. And I've never wanted to be an influencer, a professional influencer, or any of that fucking shit. I hate all that professionalized influencer stuff because it's all so horrible. And funnily enough, I saw a video today. Someone posted a video of them talking. It was like, I think maybe it was Joe sent me talking to someone else. I can't remember. But it's like in the background, there's all these other influencers and they're all recording their fucking content. It's like a little vomitorium of like people just bilging this fucking awful generic twaddle out. It all seems pretty fucking unpleasant, but the list was amusing and interesting, and there's lots of stuff in there about people who've been buying fake followers. So this is one of the things, how big a deal is it, people buying fake followers? And it turns out it's fucking endemic, and you can see it by using tools like Social Blade and I forget what the other one, but
you can see it by using your fucking eyes, to be honest.
True.
Because just from knowing about the typical follow accounts of Instagram, because I'm fairly savvy with Instagram, not really, but I've been on there a long time, and I know who's been running for a long time or whatever, and you kind of know what are the sort of natural numbers that people might be getting, and when you see somebody that you've never fucking heard of that has got the most generic, like I say, all these kind of the same weird brands that you've never heard of, that they're obviously getting free bottles from or whatever, and they're doing the same kind of content, shorts now, and they look quite slick and stuff, but the actual thing, they have no real content in terms of actually breaking down the perfumes or talking about them, or they have no real personality either. There's no picture really of the person, particularly
so generic,
which I don't understand. And I don't, and then they'll be like 195k. Bollocks. No, it's bollocks. Unless you're big in fucking South America or something, which could be a possibility. I don't know who you are. You have not got those levels. And then you look on their engagement, they've got like fucking 6 comments on like a post that's got however many, and you're like, there's no fucking way. And then you look at the comments, good fragrance, good company, good brand. They're all bots.
Yeah. It's a lot of it is terrible. Interestingly, I think obviously I've been sent a lot of free bottles of perfume, and free bottles of perfume are nice and stuff, right? But it's not. It doesn't really. Maybe it's a big deal, right? For people, younger people, or people who are sort of less. I'm not trying to sound like a cunt, but, people who are maybe not financially stable or whatever, it's a great sort of source of stuff. But for me, it's not going to change my life, right? And for a lot of these guys, in fact, it's not going to change their lives. The free bottles are basically a red herring. The cynical bit of it is the kickback codes, right? And the amount of money these guys are making. And I spoke to one guy who I get on with actually all right, but he's making $5,000 a month, right, in just commissions on fucking using discount codes, referral commissions, whatever you call it.
Oh,
right?
What?
Now,
who's that?
Well, it wouldn't be fair for me to
put you
name.
on the spot.
It wouldn't be fair for me to name them, but
No,
they're on
that's
that list. Interestingly, and they're on that list accused of buying followers, but they certainly have enough real followers to be making a lot of money by doing that, and I think that's the big fucking issue for me is this non-disclosure of financial interest and stuff. And some people don't put paid partnership when they've got a free bottle. I'd rather they did. I would rather they were transparent about that. I try and be transparent about that. I know others do too. Some people don't. I would rather they did. But where I think it gets super sinister is where they're not being transparent about the amount of money they're getting. Because once you've got a financial incentive to fucking promote this perfume, right, and to actually get people to buy it, I think that takes on a much different dynamic to just, hey, I want to tell you about this perfume because then I can get, more free perfume kind of thing.
Correct. I completely concur with that. Because the payment is very much behind the scenes. But in that instance, what I was shocked about with this list was that I go on them and not even in a proud way for them to, even be like, we're putting it out there so that people can see we do paid partnerships. So that might get us more paid partnerships. Do you know what I mean? But the fact that they don't even put it on, I didn't see a one, right? I may be wrong. Some of them may put it on there, but any of the ones that I clicked on, which was quite a few of them, and had a look at them, they clearly were doing paid partnerships because there were all these weird, obscure fucking brands that they were all the same ones. So it's like they must be getting these free. And then there's no paid partnership on there, which I find, I thought we were playing by these rules now where you were saying whether you got something or not, but they're not. Can I just say beep 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 beep? Sorry to interrupt this, but there's news coming in. Yeah, it's through a certain Geordie source.
What? You're kidding?
But it is totally legit. So L'Oreal have acquired a minority stake in Oman-based perfume house Amouage. So I just text back to Rich Mitch, death rattle. And he put, absolutely, right? Because he is like, anything L'Oreal touch, that's the fucking death of it, right? And he's been saying, I hope L'Oreal don't go anywhere near Amouage. Hope that... There you go. It's happened. So that is breaking news today. That apparently, they've done that. So...
Mental. Yeah, well, I think maybe even... I'd have to go back through the archives, but I feel like perhaps you even predicted that a while back, James.
There was some talk about it, yeah, and I was like, well, I don't think it's fair to say, oh, yeah, L'Oreal, destroy everything that they touch, but if you actually look through and go back, you're like, they do. They fucking do. And it must just be cutting corners or wanting to do that, but they always reformulate things and never for the better as far as I can see. So I think in this instance, Rich's fucking pessimism is well placed. But let's hope that Amouage have, got enough about the brand for them to be attractive to L'Oreal, for L'Oreal to be like, let's not fuck with them. And it does say, a minority stake, so they may not have control in those kind of decisions. That would imply, wouldn't it?
Well, you'd hope.
Yeah,
you'd certainly hope.
You'd hope so. It's not like they've just bought them out, out and out. So
one of those brands that you mentioned is this Supers, which I mentioned in the last episode, and I just wanted to read this out, which I got from one of our listeners. They sent me a message on Instagram and said, I just listened to the new Les Odes episode, and sad to say, as a Hungarian, Supers came out from our turf All of their perfumes are strong as fuck and as boring and as derivative as you can think. They just did an event with Jeremy Fragrance. You can imagine their whole spiel and target group. 17-year-old horny fuckers who loves names like Domination, Caesar, etc. I think I hate Domination, yeah. Incel, strong incel vibes. I think I hate the marketing more than the perfumes, which is an achievement all by itself. Shite all the way. And I love the fact that a Hungarian has far better fucking English than I do. That's just perfect, isn't it?
And says shite as well.
And says shite, yeah. Yeah, that is fucking magnificent. Yeah, so Super's Budapest. Yeah, Budapest is in Hungary. I probably should have worked that one out, shouldn't I? But anyway, yeah. So they are one of these brands that sort of came out of nowhere, and all the people on this list of 50 odd, names, were basically pumping them, except me. So there you go. Ben,
maybe they're the brand that fucking told on you to.
Yeah, possibly. I've never had any dealings with them, to be honest. Ben, did you recognise any of the names on the list and have any thoughts about any of the issues which it raises?
So I mean, I don't really use social media, right? So I don't really know anyone apart from us on Instagram. I don't really know any other perfume Instagrammers, and that's kind of the way I quite like it, but. The reason is because they are all just shill accounts these days. Like, influencing has sort of like reached that critical breaking point now where it can be a job for people and people are in it just for the money. And so you see it time and time again, like, content creators, which is another term that makes me want to vom, that are just in it for the money. And so it just doesn't interest me in any way, shape or form. What this person wrote in this letter saying, trying to expose everyone, I just thought was common knowledge. It's like everyone knows that they are. It's easy to see it because if you do look on like a YouTube or on Instagram, you'll see the same accounts push the same thing on the same date. And knowing how advertising works through my job as a podcaster, not this podcast, my other podcast that actually makes money.
What are you saying? What are you saying? You're saying this podcast doesn't make money? No, hang on. This podcast definitely does not make money.
But I know that that's how advertising works. They have like launch days, if you like, or launch windows. So it'll be like the advert has to drop within this week, and so that I know that you see this like fragrance that you've never heard of before suddenly pop up on like. Every fucking feed you see on the same day or within 2 or 3 days, and that okay, this has all been bought. Every single last one of these has been bought. So and it's got to the point, say, where it is so pervasive now that I just have no interest in finding the 1 or 2 people to follow that I give a shit about. It's just for me, it's just a whole write off the whole thing. I'm just not interested, and I'm a little bit surprised actually that it takes something like this vigilante person. To write this to brands, because I think brands are probably surely well aware of this, and I wonder if they care. Like, I think they're probably well aware. Well, but it's saturation, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure they care.
Yeah.
Either.
It's just saturation, isn't it? Like, who cares if they're like real accounts or not? And I say this from a podcast perspective. There was this, and I won't go into names and stuff, but there was this quite well-known podcast network a few years back, and it just pumped out. Awful content that was just very close to being like AI written, AI read. It wasn't. It was written by real people and it was read by real people, but they were very like robotic, and it was just a factory, like a farm. They had like a podcast for every subject, and they just churned this shite out. And it was for them. It was about saturation and a numbers game, because you get a big enough back catalogue, you can make pretty good money off that, because the companies don't really care. They just want saturation. They just want it hitting as many people as possible. Whether or not those are bots or not, I'm not sure they care, as long as they see the number at the end of the day.
Well, I think that's certainly true where you've got bigger sort of companies. So, and I think for all this influencer stuff, it's important to draw distinctions between the Dior's and Chanel's and all that kind of stuff, and then the sort of small brands, smaller brands, I guess, like fuck knows, I don't know, Les Indemnidables. I'm not sure they even work with influencers, but there was one small-ish brand though, and this is, I guess, the scale. This is just to sort of illustrate the scale of the stuff, right? A small to medium-sized brand that sent me an email saying, we'd love to send you our latest perfume to review. Polite email saying no obligation to fucking say anything.
Yeah, they all say that though, don't they?
Well,
no obligation, but we won't send you anything else if you don't.
No, well, it's more or less a legal disclaimer, I think. But they sent it. They sent this email, but they, instead of putting everybody in the blind copy field, they put them in the to field, right? So you could see how many people they'd sent it to, and this is a small-ish, I mean, probably larger end of small, but they'd sent it to 70 people, right? So they're having to send out. I mean, if you comparatively, that's like if you think about Soma, a production run is like 50 to 70 bottles, right? So we're micro in the scheme of things. But even a small to medium-sized business is having to send out 70 fucking PR packs to people and stuff, which is fucking mental, absolutely mental. But one of the things that bothers me most, right, about all of this stuff is this idea that being an influencer, and they don't call them influencers anymore, by the way, they're called, I believe they just refer to themselves as content creator.
Yeah,
content fucking vomiteer.
Like what content? What? Fuck off.
I mean, it's this is not content. This is just fucking
detritus.
Just sort of. Yeah, this is just shit-shaped words. It's not an actual fucking piece of content, and you're not a creator. You're a fucking half-wit. But yeah, the content creation is now a full-time career thing. And like I say, the guy who told me that they were making $5,000 a month in commissions said that they're going to be packing in their main job shortly and moving to Dubai to become a full-time content creator. I mean, it's just like...
It's so easily done, though. Like, so again, like coming from my perspective as a podcaster, right? Like obviously I know how much I earn a month and stuff, but that's not here nor there. But I've seen other podcasts, like, for example, this one time I
should just point out, by the way, that Ben is recording this from the fucking west wing of fucking his mansion in Brighton, overlooking the fucking sea.
Yeah, overlooking the council bins, literally the council bin site. I overlook the where all the bins of the city go. That's my view.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's from my perspective, again, because podcast is different, but it's not completely different, right? And the advertising revenue is very similar, I think, to content creators or whatever. And it's still a little bit Wild West and all the rest of it. And I got onboarded once for this advertising agency, and they showed me the back end when they were like showing me like how it all works and everything. And they said, "Oh, we've got the permission from this other podcaster, so you can see how it all works. We can log into her account and we can show you how it all works." This wasn't a huge podcast, right? It was bigger than mine, but not huge. And they were making 150 grand a year off of podcast. And you think that's not unachievable. Like, that's a fairly medium to large podcast. And you think when those sort of sums are involved, it's an easy target for people to reach for. And you can see why all these influencers suddenly sell their souls, because again, like different worlds, and different amounts of money, I think we're talking, but it's quite similar in the sense that, you probably get paid about $1,500 to $2,000 per sort of post for a medium to large size influencer, which is not that different from an advert in a podcast.
Well, no, and the the thing about content creators is it would be fine if they weren't totally corrupt fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Pushing shitty products, advertising whatever fucking crap across their desks.
Yeah, but that's the whole problem, isn't it? That there is the crux of the matter. It's like when you're, like, for example, doing advertising, right? So I make a podcast and it has to have advertising in it because I need to live, right? Because my podcast is a full-time job.
Yeah.
But the advertising isn't the point. The advertising is like the bit that I don't want but have to do. The hour-long podcast is the point. But when you see these like perfume influencers or content creators, no, the advertising is the point. That is.
Yeah,
exactly. It doesn't exist for any other reason other than to advertise for money for them, and that is.
It's not
point.
even an infomercial.
No.
It's just a fucking commercial. Yeah. The whole thing, start to finish, commercial. Yeah. And I think there's something desperately cynical about this. And whilst, I can't insist that people pass a sort of exam or a fucking, purity test before they become content creators. I think I can spot the difference between the people who are doing it based out of some sort of genuine passion for the subject and people who've just sort of seen a fucking opportunity to become a full-time content creator. And I have to tell you, right, without any fucking exaggeration, if my job was full-time content creator for something that I was not passionate about, but my job involved basically pretending to be passionate about it and sucking fucking, perfume companies' dicks in order to fucking get kickbacks and just blowing up nonsense with lies to just try and sell shit, I would give serious consideration to killing myself.
This is soulless.
It's such a fucking soulless, vile, horrible fucking career choice.
Where Ben said something interesting there, sorry to interrupt. However, what I think is that, like, my whole thing of where I'm coming from with us potentially on this podcast trying to get paid for something, right? Because I make no kind of apologies about that, because I think, one, we're all doing it for the right reasons. Two, I don't think we'd be swayed by any bottles or fucking even payment or whatever, because I think what we're doing is providing entertainment, content, whatever you want to call it, right? And I do it for nothing because we're passionate about it, right? But there's also a thing of why not, like, get something from it, right? And I think there's a certain point where the reason there's a conflict with us is because who would we get to advertise on this podcast? Only really perfume companies. The position you're in, Ben, with yours is that you're not exactly going to get fucking history. I don't know, like it's always going to be something like earbuds, or I don't know.
It's quite a wide. It's pretty wide range of stuff.
It's a wide range of different things, and you could say, oh well, maybe we're not attractive enough because we don't have a broad enough listenership, because it is such a niche thing. And the reason why the only things that we would get would be perfume, and then that becomes a conflict because you're like, oh, okay, well, your thing's about perfume, so then does the whole podcast become an advert?
Well, that's where it gets...
and I think that's a valid point. So you're kind of in a good position there, Ben, with yours, because, like I say, it doesn't conflict what you're actually... the actual content. Like you're saying, I want to do an hour of that, and it's a necessity that I have adverts to be able to pay my way, to be able to put the effort in to do it. And that's why I feel, like I say, that I think what we do here is of value, right? And what somebody on this list is doing with their content on it has no value to brands or to the wider community of people who want to take that on board. That's my contention when I say, well, why shouldn't we get a little crumb of fucking something for it? Because, I make no apologies for that, because I think that the things that I do are not compromised by that.
I agree, and I think on the whole, the list of people on the names on that list, myself as an exception, thank you very much.
Shouter.
Fucking shouter. Are adding some. What we're trying to do here with this podcast is try and add some value. And the reality is we've been recording this for like, Lisa, my wife, asked me the other day how long you've been doing it. I said, I'm not sure. I think like maybe 3 or 4 years or something. It's like 3 or 4 years we've been recording this. And I think we've maybe made like about 150 quid each through Patreon or something like that. It's like, this is not done for money, you know, and we've got no real expectation of this ever earning money. We do it out of fucking passion for perfumery. And I think a lot of the people on that list are sort of dead-eyed fucking, you know, bullshit artists. But I wanted to make the point that Ben's podcast, Dark Histories, right, it's very difficult to get an advertising sort of conflict. You know, what are you going to start fucking advertising? You know, and so was brutally murdered by this knife, which is available on Amazon for $7.99. Use my discount code. Yeah, exactly. It's really difficult to segue from a dark history into a, you know, product placement sort of vibe. But all of the people on the list are producing content which is essentially just nothing but product placement from start to fucking finish. So what do we think about this idea of buying followers and buying bot accounts to comment on stuff? You know, artificial engagement. Do we give a shit? I mean, I think it's pathetic. It's so pathetic that it actually just makes me sort of slightly nauseous.
I think it's so transparent that's like that anyone can see it, and I don't know why anyone would do it, because I think it's just so obvious. Like take that video that you sent us as an example. It was some lady on YouTube, and she was basically like talking about Les Indimadables, was it? Yeah, and like literally every single comment on her video was like, nice products. Great products.
And
it was like so obvious that she'd obviously bought that engagement to push her up the algorithm or whatever, that you can't take her seriously, and no one would. And I don't think anyone would see that and be fooled by it. The only one that's going to be fooled is the YouTube algorithm, but you only want to fool the YouTube algorithm because eventually surely you want some real people to engage, but no one is going to do that if they see that, you know, see those comments.
So it's so cheap now to buy followers. I mean, I get bombarded. My Instagram account gets bombarded with like people fucking saying, you know, for $10, you know, we'll give you like 5,000 followers and stuff, right? And it occurred to me in a deeply fucking twisted way. Well, firstly, my first thought was, shit, you know, why don't I just buy some followers for someone else that I don't like? Because it makes them look like cunts. And then my next thought was, oh fuck, what if someone did that to me? It's actually something you could do just to sabotage people, because it's so cheap. I mean, who gives a shit about $10 fucking, right? And it's absurd. But I remember, what's he called? Mr. Cologne 76. You know that guy?
76.
I mean, that guy is a gaping fucking asshole. And he, well, he is. He's an absolute tit. But he did, he had this thing a few years ago where his followers sort of went up overnight by like 10,000. And everyone's like, oh my God, you've been buying followers. And he was like, no, I've not bought followers. I'm working with Instagram to get to the bottom of this. And so I couldn't work out actually whether he'd bought the followers and fucked it up. And I think that's probably it. Or whether someone had just maliciously bought them for him. Because it seems to me like that's the kind of thing you could do. Just maliciously buy followers for people. Not that I'm advocating that, and if that ever happens to me, I'm not sure I'll have much of a defence. But anyway,
but I think that the whole buying followers thing, I think that largely ties in. Like it's got to the point now where it's so cheap because it's so transparent, and actually no one is fooled by it. The only people that are fooled by it now, it's just a scam to get new influencers that think that a following is so important to cough up like 50 quid here and there, and everyone knows that it's nonsense. Except from that influencer that's been scammed, who really wanted those 50,000 followers to feel big for like a day. Like I don't think these days
good products.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anyone is fooled by it anymore. Like 10 years ago, it probably worked wonders. Not anymore.
Well, I think so. Some of the commentary on that list, and again, if people don't tune into podcasts halfway through, but just as a reminder, the list came from an account called United PR Teams, and some of the reviewers on that list, some of the commentary on it, they'd said bought followers initially, or bought followers in small batches to sort of try and evade detection and stuff. So they've clearly been like really fucking forensic in their analysis. And I suppose it's possible to buy followers and smooth them out over time and stuff so that you get the numbers. But some of the numbers are just fucking absurd. As you say, they just show up out of nowhere with like 200,000 followers, like with a picture of a bottle of Sauvage or something. No. Can we talk about I'm tread reasonably careful because I don't really want to make more of an enemy of the United PR Team's account, but can we talk about what their motivations might be, right? Because this has more than a whiff of bitterness to it to me.
This is where it's funny because it's clearly coming from, and we can obviously see the wording of the criticisms, like say against certain influencers, and very much smacks of kind of bitterness of somebody who is in pretty much the same position, probably, who's vying for the same crap from brands or whatever, who is pissed off with these people. And their criticism is right, but again, I think the motivation, it comes from the wrong place of kind of being like, but I'm saying this, and from a kind of being a hypocrite as well, because I'm like, no, my stuff's valuable. Not that I'm trying to get anything from fucking brands or anything, but saying that, my content is valuable and yours isn't. That's where I get where this person who is kind of clearly disgruntled is coming from, saying that look at all this trash shite that's out there. And I'm like, I agree with you. But let's just say, if it is the person that we suspect it might be, their fucking content is not up to much either. So, people who live in glass houses and all that. And I think that's where it's coming from. I think it's bitterness, and they're annoyed. I think brand, and the thing is, what's funny is, like, we've already touched on this, that you'll be saying that to a brand to be like, no, avoid these people and avoid it. And the brands don't care. They're just all about the numbers. And like you say, to a small to medium enterprise, 50 bottles or 70 bottles might be a lot. To the big ones, it's fuck all. It's an extremely cheap way to pay for a blanket thing, to be like, yeah, we've got a few of these, fly-by-nights who have basically bought all their followers and don't do anything and just grift some bottles off of us. But the ones where we do hit and they do have a bit of traction and they can actually get us some sales, happy days. Do you know what I mean? It's a cheap do for us. We just blanket good and bad influences with bottles, and we don't have to pay them actual money.
There's no downside. There's no downside of like just spewing them out everywhere.
No.
So companies of that sort of scale,
yeah,
they just they want wall to wall fucking coverage. Who cares if there's a few bad eggs in the fucking in the barrel, a few bad apples?
Yeah,
confusing all my metaphors.
Mm-hmm.
But who really fucking cares as long as we cover everything? And that's their sort of their carpet bombing sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess where it's really an issue is where you're dealing with small brands. And there was a thing about right. So this is a secondary fucking thing. So there was some comments in that list as well about particular influencers, content creators, whatever, who are getting free products and then selling them, for money. And I'm going to be absolutely fucking transparent. I do that, right? I sell stuff, right, because I don't have limitless fucking storage space, and if I've got stuff that I'm never going to wear again, I'm going to fucking sell it.
Yeah.
Here's my rules for selling stuff, right? I won't sell stuff from small indie houses for whom giving me free product was a big deal. The only stuff I sell is stuff from big houses for whom this is a nothing. It's cabbage.
They can
to
afford
them.
it.
It's overstock. They can afford it. It doesn't matter.
It's chum in the water, isn't it, for them?
It chums the perfect word. Yeah. So I've got fucking tons and tons of bottles from like indie houses, small micro brands, whatever, that I simply do not sell, and I just keep them. I accumulate them because that brand has invested some actual fucking emotional energy and financial clout in sending me something, right? And I do think there is a massive distinction between selling a bottle of fucking Dior Sauvage for 50 quid when you've been sent it for free. There's a massive distinction between that and selling. And I'll use my friend Aitzaz. So I've got a friend called Aitzaz who has a brand called Shiraz. Or Shiraz. He calls it Shiraz, which I can't. I'm from the north. I call it Shiraz. So he's got this brand called Shiraz. I've got fucking like 20 different Shiraz bottles, which he sent me over the years, because I'm not going to use them all. And if they were a sort of big brand, I'd sell them. But all I'm doing at that point by selling them is sort of detracting from him a potential sale. So I'm taking something away from him. If I sell a fucking bottle of Sauvage, nobody gives a fucking hairy shit, right? And so those are my rules. And the other rule I've got is that I sell for half of retail, because I see it as like, well, I'm splitting the fucking bargain with the other person, so let's just do half of the value. You may not agree with that. Lots of people won't agree with that, and I think so. I think this idea of influencers selling stuff is a bit of a kind of, it's a more nuanced thing than just do they sell things. But yeah, a lot of people were being called out. I'm a bit gutted when I see people selling Soma things that I've sent them to review and stuff. A bit gutted, because for me that actually cost money, right? For Dior, it doesn't even cost the postage. Their postage costs will be zero.
I'm just looking. Sorry to jump in here, and I don't know whether we want to go into this kind of specifics, but there's quite a funny one.
Everywhere.
So number 18 on the list, right?
Oh God,
he's a nice-looking guy.
You're going to name them.
He speaks fast like an actor. So whoever this person is,
this one of the Italian guys?
Quite fancies this person. Unfortunately, no engagement. The Italian influencers are known for buying packages with followers.
There are a lot of Italian influencers with very big numbers. Yeah,
he's friends with some store owners, and he has someone who is helping him with collaboration with brands. The brands don't know there is no engagement at all. Such a pity of the lost bottles. Do you know?
Bottles. Yeah, I put the list into ChatGPT and said what country is what nationality is the person who wrote this, and ChatGPT said they're either Dutch or Belgian. Which I think was a pretty smart
the top 10 are all Dutch and Belgian, so that kind of tells you that there's a focus on that. And yeah, just the way it's kind of written and stuff. I get that.
What number was I, Ken?
You were number 22.
22 or 20. Yeah, I'm sort of. Yeah, does that make me the 22nd worst perfume reviewer?
Would you have preferred to be higher up that list? Yeah, always
I'm
shooting
just
for
trying
number
to work
one.
that out.
Well, I think your
just trying to work
engagement
that
is quite natural. It doesn't match with your amount of followers, but that is exactly in keeping with. You have certain posts that blow up and are popular, and maybe more people comment on them.
That is true.
But they also become desensitized, like you say, because your content is quite similar in terms of it's a nice photo of the perfume, and then you have a little blurb underneath, and that's your format. Whereas I don't know. Even if you do up, I don't think that encourages people to speak. Some posts just encourage more conversation than others.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just one of the things I check is the ratio of followers to posts.
Right.
Because, you look at these people who've got like 100,000 followers and they've done 100 posts. It's like, well, that doesn't fucking make much sense. I've got nearly 50,000 followers. I have done just short of 3,000 posts.
Yeah.
3,000, which is basically has been more or less one a day. So that says I must have been doing this for like 8 years or so.
Yeah.
I mean those followers are, unless someone's been spiking me, those followers are all fucking organically grown, and a lot of them. The low engagement is probably because a lot of them are probably now dead.
Well,
because that's how long I've been doing it.
I mean, even my engagement might seem low, and I don't get fucking. I'm lucky if I get like 80 likes on a fucking post or something, and sometimes I'll get no comments. Do you know what I mean? Because and I'm like, yeah, I'm glad because I don't have to answer them back because I can't be fucking arsed most of the time. Or if someone just puts like a heart emoji or like, oh yeah, I like this one. What am I supposed to say to that? Oh, cool. Like, you like it as well,
nice
do you?
One. Nice one, mate.
Yeah. Give the fucking arbiter something to work with. Do you know what I'm saying? But anyway, so I'll tell you who came in after you on the list. I'm going to name him because he's a fucking knob.
Oh, you're going to, aren't you?
Jose,
I know what you're gonna say.
can't even say it.
Oh, there it is.
Jose fucking pick. Well, how do you say his fucking surname? How'd you say X in like Mexican or whatever? It's there's a lot of these, isn't there? Like
in Mexican.
What
do you mean Spanish?
Spanish, whatever.
I don't know. Jose is like he's.
Well, do you want to know what they said
right.
about him? The worst influencer on social media.
Oh God!
Is approaching every brand for free bottles. Bought 1,100 followers to reach 10,000 followers. Lost them
quite specific.
Yeah, because he bought the cheapest package with bots and fake created accounts. Instagram is cleaning them. Don't write reviews. Is using the reviews from other influencers. A very no-go pass. Well, yeah, he did used to, because I remember, I'm not going to say he's used one of mine, but I know he's used some of other people's. And there used to be those accounts that popped up that were either pretending to be other people or just straight nicking your review. Or straight nicking your post. Do you remember that? That used to happen a lot, didn't it? That happened to you, though, didn't it, Dan? Where they just... That doesn't seem to happen anymore. I think Instagram have, like, cleaned house or something.
That doesn't happen.
No.
The other thing you don't get so much is impersonation accounts. Like, so what you used to get is if I ever did a giveaway, like, hey, enter this and win a free bottle of fucking, Fanny Magoo or whatever.
Yeah.
Straight away, someone would set up an account called like Fragrance Weirdo Giveaway Winner Confirmation or something. And then they'd go around messaging people going, congratulations, you've won the giveaway. Just send us your bank details. What? Huh? What, for a bottle of perfume? Yeah. Bank details, please. Bank details, mother's, maiden name, place of birth, fucking favourite pet's name, etc., etc. Fucking mental. You don't get that so much these days either.
Do you know who this guy is? Ewan Hall, Fragrance Knowledge. I've just clicked on it because it's such a fucking...
Oh, is he the blonde-haired American guy, Fragrance Knowledge?
Yes. He's got blonde hair, and I think I've seen his post before. I think he is American.
Yeah.
What's funny is that he's like, I'm Evan Hall. I've got 242,000 followers. Digital creator. God is my Lord. Acts 2024. Anyone who puts like something about God on the first fucking... I'm just like, swipe away from you. You're fucking, irrational.
He sent me his rate card.
Oh, did he? Did he really?
Hang on. Fragrance knowledge.
Which is, I mean, I call, jokingly, tongue-in-cheek, call myself the fucking arbiter.
Yeah.
Fragrance knowledge is such a oh, fuck, mate. CEO of Cologne. Did he go to fucking... I thought he meant, he might have, gone to college in Germany or something, but no, he means he is the CEO of Cologne. What? Best fragrance deals. Oh, he's got a little link with his fucking fragrance deals.
That guy sent me his rate card. I think it was Soma. He sent it to Soma a year or two ago. So when he was even smaller, and he wanted $1,000 to do a single post. I was like,
so a lot of these influencers have their rate cards, right? And they're like, oh, $1,000. And it's interesting how they always round up to about $1,000. Again, speaking, I know it's a different industry, but it's still advertising. But speaking as podcasters work, that's not how you work out a rate card. I don't just say, oh yeah, I'll advertise for you, $1,000. No, I work out, this is the PCM. This is how much you will pay me per 1,000 views or listens. And this is how we work it out. So most of the time it will work out at X amount, $659.71 or something, because that's the way it works. It's not $1,000.
Do you show your workings, the crunching of the numbers, and say, look, this is works out, or do they?
You have
they
to.
Just know that
there's an industry standard.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, there's an industry standard.
That must show them up as being very naive and not really know what they're doing. If they're approaching brands,
if someone sent me say $1,000, I'd say fuck off, mate.
Gil Aroma. Now, Gil Aroma is somebody that...
No idea.
Do you know what? I do know who he is, because he's been around for quite a while. He's only got 10.5K, so I don't believe he's been buying any fucking followers, because he's always been big into the thing. So what has this person said about him? He's not much active now and is losing followers. Pass. Why are you putting that person on there then? Do you know what I mean? Because...
But then this still goes back to that question, why do you think, what's their motive for it? And I think it's absolutely bitterness, because at the end of the day, if you don't like this stuff, just don't look at it, right? Yeah. That's how easy it is. This person is motivated by something
Stopping
else,
these people getting...
If they don't like these people, if you don't like it, just don't look at it. It's that easy. It's really that easy. I don't know any of these people you're talking about, and the reason is because I just don't look at it. And so this person is clearly motivated by more than just a desire to not like.
Well, Curly Fragrance makes the list at number 45, and we all kind of know about her, I think. But all it says for her is check yourself. I don't know if it means check yourself, like fucking Ice Cube. Check yourself before you really wreck yourself. But we all know what she's all about. And how many followers has she got? 174,000 now.
I'm actually surprised that's so small.
Exactly. They could be legit, I would say. I mean, there's no accusations on here.
Oh, I imagine she's never bought followers. I mean, I started my Instagram account about the same time she started hers. And she was just sort of pretty fucking down to earth. And seemed to be genuinely about kind of perfume, but obviously is now a full-time resident of Dubai, full-time content creator, and never, as far as I know, discloses paid partnerships. But my guess is if the person I spoke to is making $5,000 a month, she must be making 20 grand.
Absolutely, she is. And kind of good luck to it in a way, even though I think her content is absolute trash and she's...
It's awful. It's just incel bait. And and the irony, of course, is that she's gay, but I mean, it's just pure fucking incel bait.
Well, that's another thing, isn't it? It's like, me and my girlfriend in the hot tub. That's just that's even more incel bait. So... the fact that she's not attainable. I mean, she's not attainable to some fucking intel anyway. Let's face it. I remember when she first started, and I kind of got a bit of... Because there was this thing of going around and kind of commenting on established people. Not that I'm particularly established, but I kind of was in the sort of infancy of all this kind of shit. And she was around. And I remember her sort of trying to reach out, or they'd put comments on your posts to be like, oh yeah, to get you to come and like check their stuff out or whatever. And her mum had a profile as well and had said some stuff.
She still does. So I've got a friend who's very into fragrance, who's a lawyer, and she's been extremely helpful for me with work and stuff. She's absolutely brilliant. I might ask her to listen back through this and say, are we in any actual?
Oh, I think I'm going to have to chop quite a lot out.
So,
really?
yeah, if we can leave it in there, because it gives sort of context. But,
if this episode is less than like 2 hours long in part 2, then a lot's been cut out.
So, Niche Parfum Sweden. Do you know this person?
Oh yeah, no, he's always seemed sort of okay.
Kind of,
they say he's using AI.
Yeah, horrible AI.
Certainly is.
I mean, they all look. Just.
But actually, I mean, if you look at the stuff, so he used to take really nice photos way before AI stuff. If you scroll back a bit, I always thought he was sort of quite respectable.
Yeah, I think
but he might well be, because that's the thing. When you look at this list, you're on it, Dan. So.
Oh, well, that's true.
There are probably a good handful of people on this list that are probably just decent and not doing anything wrong.
Just being caught up in this shit show.
Because, like I say, we're going back to motives again. Like this list is pretty scatter. Do you know what I mean? It's basically everyone. And list everyone that isn't me, and then say why they're wrong, and then send it to all the perfume houses.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and this Lena Bird, all her stuff is these shorts, these little videos showing, some fucking nutmeg on a piece of silk. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like, has she set all this up? Is this fucking AI? I don't know. No, I think she has. And fair dues. I'm assuming it's a woman. I'm saying Lena. I don't know. Lena Bird.
Who's Lena?
Bird.
I thought.
But just looking at the posts, like this New Notes, I know you've had some stuff from them, so I'm assuming this is a paid partnership. Again, doesn't disclose that it's a paid partnership. At least that's the very least you can do, man. You've even put who the music's by on your bloody thing, and the musician. Like, the stupid thing is, it's not even an artist. It's the music is called Smooth Jazz, and the musician is Beard Music Stock. Do you know what I mean? Why fucking list that? You know what I mean? Like, list that you're actually getting. You got the bottle for free, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? Rather than that.
Yeah.
And okay, yeah, there's a bit of a review in here, but it's all this language that they use, that just, it could be AI generated. It's like, get some personality, get some fucking originality, but.
I mean, and that is ultimately what all this ends up as, right? Is this kind of this sort of dash for kind of maximum clout. You just end up like a race to the bottom in terms of genericness, and my persona, if you like, on Instagram is that I'm a grumpy cunt. My real life persona is that I'm a grumpy cunt. So that's okay. It sort of works. I am a grumpy cunt. But I think all these sort of generic fucking, I don't know, just twats being generic, that's sort of where it ends up as. And to bring it back to the original, to the opening, obviously I was a little bit upset to find my name on this list, but on the whole, I think what they're doing is a good thing, right? Fuck it. Just, expose people buying fragrances. Just buying fragrance, buying followers. No, people buying fragrances is good. People buying fragrance followers, not so good. Expose that shit, right? I'm totally cool with it. Just like make sure that what you're doing is like actually fair and reasonable.
I don't disagree with the.
I felt a bit annoyed. I don't disagree
with the Searchlight. It's the fucking Searchlight operator that I have, questions about what their motive is. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we've identified this guy. Are you sure? Doesn't matter. Sure enough, it'll do. Yeah. It'll be fine.
So, I mean, I there's that to it that I think is a really big issue, but I also just question the impact. I just don't think it'll have any. I just don't think anyone cares.
I think you're dead right. I think you are dead right. What it will do is maybe lessen the impact of smaller brands who are sending out stuff that costs them money. And fair enough. If you're a small brand and you've got 20 PR bottles to give out, you want to make sure you're having the maximum impact with that and not sending it to fucking wankers who are just going to fucking, share it to a bunch of bot accounts. I totally get that. But what it will never change is the big brands who are just fucking carpet bombing stuff because A, they know about it, and B, they don't give a shit. They want it costs them nothing. It costs them nothing to be wrong. So just carpet bomb everything. It's a bit like actually it's a bad example, but one of the reasons they never means tested winter fuel allowance in the UK was because the cost of means testing it outweighed the benefit of fucking
the savings you would
make. And it's a bit like that with these brands. They don't give a shit. I mean, it takes them it's going to take me 3 minutes to check.
The time it takes to vet people, you may as well just send them out. Yeah.
I don't have 3 minutes. 3 minutes cost me £100. This cost me £1 to fucking send it. And that's the attitude of the bigger brands, and it will ever be thus. So the impact they have, it will be marginal at best, but where it should be focused is in the smaller, niche brands who are struggling, for whom a bunch of PR bottles is a big commitment, So I think, as James so eloquently put it, the searchlight is no bad thing, but the operation of it, you need to be a little bit careful that you don't fucking, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right. Well, this has worked maybe better than I thought, although definitely will need some legal vetting. James, any sort of thoughts in conclusion?
No, not really. It's been fun. There's always seems to be more we could say, or if we actually, sat down and broke it down initially, there's probably things that haven't been said. I just think that the whole the sentiment of it, because the idea is that if you're into something and then people start jumping on a bandwagon, kind of bastardizing it, and then it becomes something that you never thought it would be and never really intended it to be, it just kind of makes things ugly. But by the same rule, you don't have to engage with that content. The only reason that I do is to have something to laugh at, poke fun at, take the piss out of, talk to other people about. It's not like I really care about that going on. I don't care if they're getting stuff from brands, whatever. It makes no odds, really. No. And that's kind of the point of it. But I think it does sort of cheapen something that I think maybe I just have a high opinion of my own fucking absolute bullshit ramblers that are not really coherent most of the time. Or have any sort of consistency. So, who am I to criticize somebody else for just trying to basically do the same thing? But I think the cream floats to the top, doesn't it, or whatever they say.
Eventually,
and people realize, oh, this is actually just bullshit content. And they might get into those people at first, but then when they truly dig around and find people are like, oh wow, this is not just some advert channel. This is like actual real things that I'm interested in. They're the kind of people that you want. And, if it takes a while for them to sort of filter through and get to find a Les Oderants podcast, rather than the fucking whatever you called on, hi guys, fucking, all that
Welcome back to my channel.
Subscribe, and don't forget to hit the fucking notification bell and all that shit. I'll hit your fucking notification bell in a minute, you cunt. Fuck off.
Please fuck me in the head with your stupid notification bell.
So that's it, really. I think, saying about... no, I'm not even going to do it. That's it. That's all. That's all.
Excellent. Ben?
I just think it's a bit of a continuation of our last episode, isn't it? Really, there's a lot of the same parallels. There's just too many of them.
We don't want to become sort of in this situation where we talk about influencers every week, though, do we? Because we're
no. Next time we're doing a materials episode, James.
We are, right. I promise.
Just wait for James to send us.
We might get Jura Rose on as well. Yeah. Let's try and get Jura Rose involved.
Let's do that. Okay. Well, look, my final thoughts are these. I think everyone should follow United PR teams. I think United PR teams' motivations may or may not be questionable. Their efficacy is definitely going to be questionable. But I enjoy the fact that the searchlight is on, as you put it, James. I was a bit miffed to find myself on that list, but fuck it. They've been kind enough to say they'll take me off the list. Whether they do or they don't, it sort of doesn't matter, because to me this is not a fucking full-time job. It's not career aspiration, and I have no intention of becoming a full-time content creator. I would rather shoot myself in the dick than become a full-time content creator. So hopefully we haven't had to cut too much out of this, for legal reasons. I expect we probably have had to cut a good chunk out. It's just how it is. But as always, I think it's been a fucking riot. We will, for those interested, move on to Pastures New in the next episode. We will definitely not be whinging about content creators and all that kind of shit. We will do something else much more stimulating and fragrance related. However, until that time... we've been... Oh, Ben, did you want to say something?
No.
You look like you were gearing up to say something.
That's all right.
Well, I'll just wrap it up then. Until that time, we've been Les Oderants. We've thoroughly enjoyed this. And we will catch you next time on Les Oderants. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
James?
Bye. Bye.